Bonjour and good morning, everybody, to the last S&D press conference before the summer break during this last plenary session here in Strasbourg. Welcome, and I hand over to our group president, Iratxe García Pérez, and then, of course, there is time for your questions. Merci.
Gracias a todos.
Thanks to all of you for turning up today, where we're going to run through the various different issues and priorities for S&D during this July plenary session. And I'm going to start with the debate, which is going to begin once this press conference is over, on the Irish presidency, where the S&D wants to focus on issues such as access to housing or the social dimension of European policy, because the housing crisis has become a true social emergency across the face of Europe. And for progressives, housing is not a privilege, it's a right. And that's the message we've been stressing over these last few months. And time is proving us right in terms of this priority, because the last Eurobarometer shows a really frightening picture. 79% of Europeans state that they're struggling to pay their bills. The cost of living, well, having a decent home has become a challenge for millions of Europeans. So we're asking the Irish presidency to put the social dimension at the very focus of the agenda, together with competitiveness, European values and security, of course, which we share. Access to accessible housing should be a fundamental principle. And that's why we're also satisfied that there's going to be this vote today to extend the mandate of the EP's Special Committee on Housing, the housing crisis. As you know, that committee began to work at the start of this Parliament with one of the priorities of our political family. And 2 years on, it's quite clear that the challenge is still there and we need to continue working. So that parliamentary committee can give us a diagnosis and come up with some idea of specific measures on this front. Under the next budgetary framework, obviously, we'll need a specific housing budget. We also need to address regulating short-term rentals as well. Now, for tomorrow, Wednesday, the debate on the heat wave, I think we are all aware of the situation we are facing right now, right at the very start of the summer. Summer's just beginning, and already over the last few weeks, we've seen the effects of this heat wave, which has cost thousands of European lives. Europe is simply not prepared. Europe is not prepared. And so it would be totally irresponsible on the part of the European institutions if they were not to work on giving priority and flesh to the climate agenda. And I'm saying this because the EPP last week was against including in the title of this debate a reference to the climate crisis. Finally, we accepted the title that we have today as a result of negotiations, because obviously it's not the title that's important. Yeah, we could debate it, certainly, but I think that's a signal that already shows the lie of the political will, and the EPP wants to rule out any reference to climate change and compromise policies on combating climate change. That, I believe, is a demonstration of political wills or approaches which are not helping in any which way to solve the problem we are currently facing. And so we're going to be absolutely clear on that. We are also, of course, going to talk about the cost of living. That goes well beyond housing that I was talking about beforehand. Again, Eurobarometer reveals that the cost of living has become the major concern for Europeans. I was telling you not long ago that European families had to choose between filling the fridge or the car. So there are difficulties now also with preparing houses for increasingly frequent heat waves or addressing the type of situation we've faced in many European countries. Climate negativism and refusals have a cost. Europeans are already paying it. Heat waves are unprecedented right now, as we've seen them on this continent. And it's no coincidence. This is the result of ignoring science and delaying the green transition. So the response is clear: more science, more public investment in and more robust climate approaches. So some people have been saying that the green transition is a problem for the competitiveness of the EU. And if there's anyone that deems that European competitiveness has a future in a continent on its knees as the result of climate change, then they've got it very, very wrong. So I think that that is a crucial aspect to be raised in today's debate. And to conclude with a topical debate, as you know, that was a proposal from S&D on the situation in Gaza, because even though the media is not dealing with it now on a daily basis, the tragedy, the destruction in Gaza, the attacks on Palestinian rights are still going on today. Despite the ceasefire from October 2025, this disaster is ongoing. The attacks continue whilst humanitarian aid and humanitarian access is inadequate. We're seeing the results. So the tragedy in Gaza goes hand in hand with what's happening on the West Bank. It's a disgrace that the Commission is not taking significant measures, whereas the Netanyahu government is continuing in its approach. The next Foreign Affairs Council on the 13th of July has a responsibility to act. The lack of action of the EU is precisely what's fueling Netanyahu to continue crossing every single red line. And we trust that the new Irish presidency, which we'll have the opportunity to discuss with now, we hope that they will take clear leadership on this. Ireland has spoken out on many occasions and has also led the European position together with other countries such as Spain, Slovenia, in defending multilateralism and international law. So we trust that the Irish presidency will indeed help on this front. So, over to you.
Gracias, Iratxe. And just for your information, before we come to the questions, Iratxe spoke about the topic of housing, a key priority for us. So at 18 hours today, 6 o'clock, you are very welcome for a vernissage. We have an exhibition, A Home is a Right, with testimonies present from 7 countries today at 6 o'clock, and we very much welcome you. There will be Iratxe together with the 6 MEPs from the other countries, and of course other MEPs and VPs from our group. Now it's time for your question. We start with Max.
Hi, good morning. Max Vieira for Politico. I wanted to ask about the ruling today on Le Pen, whether she'll be able to run in the French election in 2027. Could you comment on what you think could be the impact of a French presidency by Rassemblement National, and whether you think EPP, will try to sort of bring Le Pen or Bardella, whoever runs, to the fold like he did with Meloni? Is that something you're already sort of expecting, planning to? Thank you.
Con respecto a la decisión que...
Well, in respect of the decision, the ruling to come from the French courts today, obviously we have full respect for their ruling. It couldn't be any other way. But the consequences of any ruling, whether it's Bardella, whether it's Le Pen, I think what we all have to understand is that, well, this threat of the extreme right to have governments in Europe which could shape the European project. One or the other or one, it's the same thing as far as the European project's concerned. And so we're not going to get into that debate, which very obviously has various different parts. But what we are concerned about is the threat from the extreme right, the attack on rights, European citizens, and the policies which support those citizens. And that's what we're going to stand up to. So, whatever happens.
On the right.
Hi, Fergal Gallagher from RTE in Ireland. You mentioned the Irish presidency and Gaza. What specifically would you be looking for leadership from the Irish presidency, what they could do with helping Gaza?
Yeah, today I will participate in the plenary, and you will have the opportunity to listen. But in any case, it's clear what we are asking as a S&D group, and is we are asking the full suspension of the EU-Israel agreement for the Netanyahu genocide in Gaza.
Thank you. Are there further questions? Yes, please.
Hi, it's Sam Clark from Politico. I wanted to ask about the CSAM vote happening today. As I understand it, S&D is going to vote in favour of the urgency procedure. Could you clarify if you're also going to vote in favour of the actual substantive vote, the council position? And could you tell me what's gone into sort of establishing your position here? Because as I understand it, last time there was a vote on this, I think S&D was not in favour. Thank you.
Gracias. Y con respecto a...
Thank you. Yes, on CSAM, we've already had a debate. S&D is going to vote in favour of the urgency procedure because we want to solve this legislative gap which exists right now. Right now, there's a void, a legal void to protect minors online against sexual predators and sexual abuse. And we want to act responsibly. That's not incompatible with continuing in the negotiations on legislation on this, to continue calling for clear legislation which will permanently cover this situation. So yes, we're going to vote in favour of urgency so that on Thursday we can solve this and have the legal, the temporary legal cover until such a time as Council can progress in trilogues with Parliament. And in the meantime, we will do our work, work out our position. There are various different sensitive points, obviously, that we will be working on. But I do want to stress, in particular, the fact that we have to focus. I do hope that urgency and temporary legislation will be approved, but we need to focus on the permanent legislation for protecting minors. And from then on, do our work as a parliament to demand all the necessary safeguards in this question.
Questions on your sides? Yes, please, in the back. And then afterwards, Max again. Yes, please.
Thank you. Sam Assad with Oireachtas TV in Ireland. You've called on Ireland to put housing as a central objective of the presidency's agenda. Many feel that EU presidencies tend to focus more on consensus building over ambition. So how will you measure whether Ireland actually delivers beyond rhetoric on housing? Thank you.
Yeah. When we visited Dublin and we had in the COP and in our mission as a S&D group the opportunity to know much better how is the situation about housing in Ireland, in Dublin specifically, it's clear that it's not an Irish issue. It's a European issue. And for this, today in the exhibition, we will put the focus in different examples in different countries about what is happening today. I know that the Irish presidency introduced the goal about competitiveness, and we support this. Of course, Europe needs to improve their competitiveness. But nobody can think that we will guarantee this competitiveness if we cannot guarantee the social dimension, if we cannot guarantee decent home, decent work, and decent life. It's clear. And what we want is to push for introduce the social dimension in the competitiveness goal. And of course, Irish presidency has the opportunity to take some actions and activities on this line. We met with the Prime Minister and with the government. The Minister for Housing issues was part of the debate, and we could exchange with him these questions. And I hope that really they can help us on the issue.
Thank you, Max. And then Vincenzo.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up and ask about ESN and whether you could give us a comment on whether you think that might be setting a precedent for, future investigations on Article 2 to be launched on, for example, the left or the party of the European left. Yeah, thank you.
Sobre este procedimiento, usted.
Well, you are perfectly aware of the fact that on this S&D has put forward quite a large number of the signatures which were needed to push this resolution, which responds to the call from the political groups. And I want to stress that because neither in the EP nor in the S&D is it up to us to investigate whether political parties are meeting European values, complying with them or not. I want to make it absolutely clear that it's the authorities of European political parties that are calling on us to be able to act on this. And this is an act of transparency and responsibility, neutral, in which what the European Parliament is doing is saying to the authorities of the political parties, do your job, push ahead with the investigation if you think necessary. And that's what's going to happen. As I was saying, I think it's quite clear. I think that it's up to us to act responsibly and transparently. So the authorities have asked us to react, and we're reacting by saying, yes, do your job, do your work, investigate, expose, and see whether this is true or not. Thank you.
Good morning, Vincenzo Genovese from Euronews. I would like to come back to the first question of this press conference. Of course, you said that Marine Le Pen or Jordan Bardella are the same threat. You use the word amenaza, so the same threat coming from the far right. There is basically no difference among them. I just would like to ask you if you consider which one of them could be more suitable to enter in a sort of alliance or sort of more enhanced cooperation with the centre-right, which has been the case in this parliament in many votes for the far-right forces.
Hemos hablado en muchas ocasiones de esto.
Well, we've discussed this on many occasions, and for us, obviously, the far-right groups stand where they stand. They've got the view that they've got, and our political group cannot in any which way cooperate with them. Obviously, we have to work in investing in moderates, political groups where, we can see in certain of their agendas where they don't coincide with reality. Look at the last 3 motions of confidence vis-à-vis the President of the European Commission. You can see that, it's a very clear example of what I'm talking about. So in this specific case, we're talking about ECR. If they're a pro-European group, if they don't vote in that direction, then it will be up to someone, but not S&D.
Thanks a lot. Are there further questions? I look around. If that's not the case, then thank you very much, Iratxe, and looking forward to seeing you at 18 hours in front of our group room. And if we don't see you, have a very good week. Merci.